Hi, my name is Joe Curley, and today this is my project on income inequality between the genders. What I am going to attempt to do in this presentation is to take a look at the gender pay gap and to try to determine if, in fact, that it is due to inherited facets of identity, as our textbook says, or if it can be more seen as an idea that comes from personal choices and decisions made in one's life. At one point or another, all of us have heard the argument that men simply make more money for the same work that women do. Meaning that if two people have the same exact position with the same exact experience, that men are just simply going to get paid more. We have heard the statistics, and most recently in 2015, women made 79 cents out of every $1 that a man made. Now, this statistic is used by many people who try to argue that rampant sexism is making women victims and that they only make 79 cents for every $1 that a man makes. I'm sure you have heard this statistic at some point in your life. It is largely reported by the media, politicians, and various groups such as the AAUW. And to really try to understand what it is that they're saying, you really have to understand how they got this number. Essentially, they added up the earnings of all men in the country and all women in the country, and then they found a median of the two. So for me, when it comes to using statistics to prove a point, that's not really the best way to do so. That's essentially like taking two groups, adding up their income and finding an average, and then claiming that one of them has been oppressed because they make less. It does not take into account personal decisions, choices, and different things that one does throughout their life. So why is this significant, and why is this a problem when it comes to diversity? Essentially, right now, we have two groups of people. On one side, we have a group that assumes that because sexism does exist in the world, that it is responsible for this wage gap, and that it is a fact that corporations and businesses alike across the country are oppressing women by paying them less than men for the same work. And then on the other side, you have people like myself who believe that this wage gap is largely due to personal decisions made by women throughout their life in regards to education and family, and how these decisions ultimately influence their career and ultimately their pay. The idea behind this argument is a problem because it ultimately calls for government intervention and the regulation of wages to the point where it will suppress the contributions of an individual in the workplace and place their significance more on the emphasis of their gender and not what they can bring to the company. And second, it has created a generation that believes that they are victims because of sexism oppressing their wages. A recent study released by Forbes magazine showed that a majority of women attending Harvard University overwhelmingly believed that once they graduated, that they would automatically take a 22-cent pay cut compared to their male counterparts. So with this gender pay gap, people have tended to confuse the term inequality with inequity. Inequality meaning just simply a difference in size or amount, and inequity meaning a lack of fairness or justice. Essentially what you have are people using this 79 cent on every dollar pay gap to express the idea that inequity has occurred or a lack of fairness has occurred in the workplace, oppressing women and the wages that they make. Christina Hoff Sommers is a world-renowned feminist who has been outspoken about this gender wage gap. She states the same thing that I am saying in this presentation, that this idea of a gender pay gap creates a society in which women feel like they are victimized and can never reach their full potential. She critiques this idea that women make 79 cents out of every dollar, bringing to light the fact that it does not account for differences in occupations, positions, job tenure, or hours worked per week. She says that when such factors are considered, the wage gap narrows to the point of vanishing. What I am going to attempt to do in this presentation is to examine what Christina Hoff Sommers says leads to this pay gap in regards to education and personal choices made by women in regards to their career and their families. I will then show evidence that suggests that women are actually outperforming men in certain fields in an attempt to prove that sexism is not dominating the workplace and that sexism is not oppressing women based on the wages that they earn. When it comes to education, I would assume that we would all agree that the major that you choose in college plays a large role in determining how much money you will make in the workplace. For instance, if you pick a major such as engineering, you will probably make more money than someone who chose a major in social work. This is true regardless of gender. Anthony Carnevale of Georgetown University found that women on average choose majors that lead to lower paying careers, while men pick majors that lead to higher paying careers. The following graphic shows the top 10 most lucrative majors that you can enroll in college, showing a relatively low presence of women being enrolled in them. This would lead to women making less money because these majors that generally lead to higher paying jobs do not have a lot of women enrolled in them. Now, if we look at a chart of the top 10 least lucrative majors, we can see that clearly women dominate men in these majors. This would in fact lead to women picking jobs and majors in school that lead to lower pay than the ones that men choose. This does not illustrate a clear picture of sexism and does not show that women are being oppressed. If you had two groups of people and one of them studied engineering and one of them studied social work, odds are that those that studied engineering are probably going to make more money. Now, in addition to education, we can also look at how women operate in the family. Historically, women have stayed home with children and men have gone out to pursue full-time work. This has been changing over time as both partners in a family are tending to go out and earn money for the family. However, from a historical context, we can see that over 40% of women choose to leave their career behind and stay home with their children.